We're gonna react to another episode of 600 Pound Life. Again, not a fan of the title, but at the end of the day, I think even with episodes like this, there are good takeaways that we can all learn from. Just watching her wake up in the morning, you could tell she's having a difficult time with mobility. And part of when we talk about helping patients lose weight is thinking about their quality of life. So yes, we want to decrease risks of cardiovascular disease, development of metabolic disorders like diabetes, but we also want to make them comfortable. We want to make them be able to enjoy their day-to-day lives. And as they get older, we want to make sure that they're able to keep their independence.
When I wake up in the morning, I start hurting because the pain is intense.
Remember, it's exponential. The amount of weight you're carrying in your abdomen is going to be exponentially higher on your hips, on your knees, on your ankles. The number one thing proven to help reduce osteoarthritic pain and other symptoms related to it is weight loss.
It hurts, and it's hard to reach around my body.
It is hard, but it is very important because when you have excess adipose tissue, skin tissue, that's a place where bacteria can live, fungi can live, and therefore you can actually develop skin conditions that are not only dangerous, but also very uncomfortable and painful.
Once I get out the shower, my daughter comes in and she'll clean out the back of my legs because my arms are too short to reach.
Mom, she tries to do everything. She tries not to be lazy. She tries to do a lot, but she can't.
It's important to not just clean the area, but also dry the area thoroughly because a moist environment, again, harbors bacteria and fungi.
Size was something that was seen as, kind of a birthright in our family. We loved to eat. There was a kind of a running joke that if you were big, you were well.
Culturally, eating is so important to people that discussing one's diet needs to be done in a very thoughtful and careful way. You never know what food means to somebody, what their daily meals with their family means to somebody. I've seen this happen in my clinic with those who are from the Latin American community and how important it is for them to have regular meals with their family that consist of rice, tortilla. Some of these foods, when eating in excess, can actually be harmful for the patient, especially when they have metabolic conditions like diabetes.
I was gaining weight from a young age. And by the time I was in middle school, I was already 250 pounds. Then I started having seizures. Every time I had a seizure, it was while I was watching TV or a movie.
I wonder if that has something to do with an epilepsy condition that is triggered by flashing lights, or perhaps sleep deprivation. In fact, when we have children that have had a seizure, they come into our inpatient service in the hospital where we actually put an EEG cap on where we monitor their brain waves and we try to induce the seizure, either through sleep deprivation, flashing lights. And when we do that, we are able to have the seizure occur in a safe, controlled medical setting, but then we're able to see what parts of the brain it's coming from, and we could actually then medicate the individual, get them in a place where they're seizure-free and hopefully are gonna be safe to go back home.
At 28, there was a situation that occurred that I needed to take custody of 3 of my cousin's kids.
Oh, wow. That's awesome that she did that for her family.
I didn't want to give up on having children of my own. So I dated and got pregnant with my 2 youngest children. I was too big to weigh on the office scale, so I had to go to the freight scale. At that time, I was about 480, and I spent all my time focused on taking care of everybody else instead of myself.
And I know some people say, why were they even weighing her? That doesn't seem like it was sensitive. It's actually really important during pregnancy to monitor one's weight, to make sure that there's no fluid accumulation, that the baby is impacting the body in a certain way. Those who carry excess body weight to this degree not only have trouble with scales, they have trouble in our offices with stools. They have trouble fitting in MRI and CAT scan machines. So it's not an easy life by any means.
My weight limits me so much. So I want to lose the weight. But when the cravings come, All I want to do is eat.
I'm sure this was filmed before the introduction of the GLP-1 medications like Ozempic and Wegovy. The reason why those medications have become so successful is because they work metabolically to some degree, but the biggest benefit that they give people is that it reduces cravings. It slows gastric emptying, so it slows the process of the food through the digestive system, making an individual feel full, therefore experiencing less cravings.
Being a teacher requires being on your feet all day, but when I get to work, I can't even make it in the building into my classroom without stopping. So I kind of map my route to where I know there are chairs that I can sit in.
Yeah, the fact that she's getting that shorter breath is concerning from a cardiovascular standpoint. Like, is her heart being able to keep up with the amount of body weight she has right now? For her own safety, you want to make sure that she's capable of walking around without posing a risk to her heart.
By the time I get to my room, I'm so physically wiped out and I'm starving, but I'm constantly around food. And if I run out, it's usually around lunchtime. I do look at the food in front of me and say, I don't need it, but it's good, so I just want to keep eating.
You know, people talk about food addiction, whether it's real or not. If you're in a situation where you need food to this degree where you're overeating, you hate that you want the food, you know that your body doesn't need the food, it's presenting other health hazards to your life. Whether or not a medical textbook says it's an addiction, in layman's terms at least, it feels like an addiction.
Cynthia is over 600 pounds. And it's quite remarkable that she can take care of 5 children at that weight.
It just shows how motivated she is to take care of those children, because it's difficult on her breathing, it's difficult on her heart, on her joints, and yet she's still showing up day in and day out.
You're a mom and you have a responsibility to your kids. So from this point on, we are going to make changes in your eating habit.
This is a very old school way of doctoring where you tell a patient that you have children, you need to do better for them, and you try and lecture a patient. But in most instances, the way that you get a patient to where they want to be is by asking them the questions and getting them to a place where they say, I need to do this for my kids. Just the fact that they vocalized it rather than you did will already go further in their success rate.
You know how the homework goes. You need to stick with the low-carb diet and eat only 3 times a day and no snacking. This will be a 1,200 calorie a day diet.
I don't know how they expect her to go from eating what she's eating to a 1,200 calorie diet 3 times a day. I just feel like you're setting up a person for failure on that. She's gonna have massive cravings, especially with the difficulties of her job. It's gonna make her sad. It's gonna make her uncomfortable.
What is your ability to do exercise and walk?
And you want her to exercise and walk with 1,200 calories? I mean, it's just completely unreasonable.
I really don't do a lot of walking.
Or how much you can walk before you feel tired and give up?
Maybe like from here to your waiting room.
She should really be working with a nutritionist to figure out what she's already consuming and make changes from there, as opposed to getting a cookie cutter 1,200 calorie recommendation and telling her to exercise when she's never exercised before. It's just gonna be a major shock to the system. I think even the most well-intentioned patient is gonna struggle with that.
If we stick with this diet, you should be able to lose 30 pounds in 1 month. And if you can make these changes, weight loss surgery could be an option for you down the road.
Okay.
I get why they're trying to get her to lose 5% of her body fat to make sure that once the surgery is complete, that there will be a level of success. But doing it in the way that he prescribed it, it just doesn't seem like you're setting up someone for success. And also, he didn't tell her what to eat, didn't give any recommendations as far as macronutrients. Look, I get you don't want to confuse and overload a patient, but like, encourage protein intake. Those foods that she's eating are ultra processed in that they're gonna make her not feel full. They're gonna make her want to overeat. But if you just make recommendations about the types of foods to consume, that's gonna make it easier for her to stick to some sort of plan.
Ukiah has been offering to take walks with me and help me stay on track.
Yeah, social workouts go a long way in helping people stay consistent. When you have another person that goes to the gym with you or goes with you to do some sort of physical activity, the odds are that one of you wants to skip and then the other one encourages the other one to go. So you're kind of doubling your chances of getting a workout in.
You're making good progress, and I think you're gonna be a good candidate for weight loss surgery, okay? But you still have a BMI close to 100. So I'm gonna send you to the hospital so we can run some tests on you, make sure you are safe for anesthesia. If all those tests are good, I'll approve you for surgery.
I hate that he says it as if like he needs to approve. We'll send you to the hospital for some special tests to make sure it's safe for you to go for the surgery. Not for me to decide if it's safe. You're not deciding. The tests are deciding whether or not it's safe for the patient. It's in their best interest. It's not you gatekeeping it.
The surgery will help to prevent her from turning to food. But if she doesn't deal with some of her deeper issues, it's only a matter of time before she turns back to it.
I wonder what the rates of bariatric surgery are going to be now that we have these GLP-1 medications with a newer generation of GLP-1 medications coming out soon.
It's been a week since my surgery. I was discharged yesterday, and I'm recovering in the hotel. Right now, I've lost all cravings for food.
How's your mindset now? I mean, you got the surgery finally.
I think my feelings are numb because I've been through so much.
Yeah, at that point, it's hard to know long-term prognosis. So it's hard to know what it'll be like 2 weeks from then.
Today is your 10th day after surgery, huh?
Yep,
All right, how's everything coming along?
great.
How is your pain and discomfort?
Don't have any.
Wow, look at that change in just a few days.
You have lost 100 pounds so far.
That's
Do you feel
exciting.
any different?
I do.
But I'm arranging for you to start seeing a therapist in Oklahoma City.
I like that.
Because I want you to start discussing some things with them so you can be successful in the long term.
Usually we do that before the surgery as well. I wonder if this is just outdated. Wow, that's a huge weight loss.
This has been a hard couple of months, so I'm trying to keep my mind off of food as much as possible. I've been going out to exercise and stay motivated.
See, that's the tricky thing about overeating and overconsumption of food. When someone's like, hey, quit cigarettes or quit alcohol because they're bad for you, a person can say, okay, I'm never gonna touch that again. But food, you have to consume no matter what. But overconsumption can become a problem. It's like, imagine how difficult it is if everyone that had an alcohol addiction, instead of trying to get them to quit completely, we had to get them to a place where they would only have a few drinks. See how complicated that would be?
I've decided to stop trying to live up to everyone's expectations of me, including Dr. Nails. I appreciate all the help he's given me, but I've decided if he's pushing me for therapy, I don't need to see him right now. I'm working as hard as I can, and I thought the surgery would fix everything, but it didn't.
When it comes to surgeries, they rarely heal everything. They can get you a jump start, especially when it comes to bariatric surgery. It's still gonna take a lot of work, even with GLP-1 medications. If you wanna get in good shape, you still have to exercise, you still have to watch what you're eating, change the amount of protein you're consuming, otherwise you'd lose muscle as much as you are fat. So it's not an easy road just because there is something to help you. One of the most important things you can do to keep a healthy metabolism is get good sleep. Here are my sleep tips here. Click here to check that out. And as always, stay happy and healthy.